Welcome to our last module. You made it. We just have a few things due this week and then we're just wrapping up our course. I want you to think about this whole field, social media marketing, past just finishing the course and getting a grade, and past even whatever job you take. You know, social media marketing moves fast. The platforms that we talked about in week 1 are going to look different in a couple years. The tools will change, the formats will change, but there's one thing that doesn't change, and that's what I want to talk about today. Here's a trap that catches almost everyone who is new to social media marketing, and honestly, some people who've been doing it for years. They start with the pretty stuff, right? They open Canva, they pick a color palette, maybe they have some beautiful imagery, they design an incredible Instagram post. They spend an afternoon on it. It looks incredible. They post it and then nothing or very little. And they don't understand why, because the visual was genuinely good. Here's what happened. They started at step 8 and skipped 1 through 7. The pretty stuff, the content, the visuals, the captions, the clever campaigns, is the output of strategy. It's not a substitute for it. You cannot design yourself or your way out of not knowing who you're talking to or what you want them to do. And I've seen this in agency work. A client comes in and the first thing they said is, "We need better content." And sometimes that's true, but more often what they actually need is clarity on who they're talking to, what they want that person to feel and do, and which platform that person is actually using. Once you have that, the content really is a lot easier to create. So if we really wanted to talk about what are the foundations, what has to be in place before you touch a single design tool, and I would narrow it down to these 3 things. I think it's goals, strategy, and audience. So let's talk about goals first. And I think this is one that people underestimate the most. SMART goals are not just a bureaucratic exercise. They are the thing that tells you at any point in time whether you are doing something that is actually working. Without a specific, measurable goal, you will never know. And you could post content, you might get likes, you might feel busy and have no idea whether any of it is actually helping the business. With a goal, a real one, every decision you make has that filter. Should we post this? Does it move us towards this goal? Should we boost this post? What does our KPI look like this week? Are we on track? Goals make social media manageable. They make it measurable, and they make it defensible when someone, say a boss, a client, or yourself, asks, is this working? They are also super helpful when the metrics that are important start to change. You know, we've seen that likes aren't necessarily any more a good metric to see if your post has visibility or it is meeting the goal you have. So when those metrics change, if your goal is stable, you can adjust your metrics to make sure you're still meeting that goal. And honestly, having goals like this is something that works in all lines of business and for yourself as well. Having goals that you can look at that have timelines and measurements always make you more successful. So our second thing is knowing your audience. The persona work that you did in this course isn't just a format to fill out. It's really practice for a habit that separates okay social media marketers from genuinely good ones. The habit is, before you make anything, you ask who is actually going to see this, not who you hope will see it. Who is scrolling that platform right now at that time of day with their phone in their hand? What is their life like? What are they worried about? What are they excited about? What do they want more of? What do they scroll past without a second thought? You know, when I first started in agency work and we did quite a bit of research and planning and writing around these personas, I didn't quite understand it at first. But then as I moved along and I was part of creating collateral and strategy and social media, I realized that first initial work of figuring out who I was trying to reach, that audience, enabled me to really clearly make content and choices in my decisions of where to put my energy that made it more successful. And when you know how to answer those questions, you stop making content just for yourself and you make content for your audience. And that shift from making things you like to making things they need is what changes the engagement and honestly, in the end, meets the marketing goal, which is getting your product or service out into the audience that you are trying to reach. And the last thing is knowing your strategy. Your strategy is really the bridge between your goals and your audience. Which platforms, what content pillars, what's the role of paid versus organic reach? What does success look like? How are we going to implement that? What tools are we going to use to make sure that our goals end up reaching the audience? And that's where strategy comes into play. So those three things done well and first lead into the creative and the pretty and fun and entertaining things, but they have to be informed by those things first. All right, so this week we are wrapping up and completing the 2 Hootsuite platform exams. You've got one in social media marketing and one in how to use Hootsuite. If you look in there and you can tell that they're both multiple choice exams, you can take them as many times as you want, and you're given an hour for each exam to complete it. And I want to tell you a little something too about those. Those certifications represent something that are not just a checkbox or not just something for this course. They're real. Hootsuite is the industry standard for social media management. And when a small business or an agency says they know they manage social media professionally, most of them are managing it in Hootsuite or a tool built like that. And knowing how to use it, the scheduling, the streams, the analytics, it's a baseline professional skill in this field. And once you pass those certifications, add them to your LinkedIn profile under licenses and certifications, because sometimes when you're applying for a job, first place people are going to look is your LinkedIn profile, and you can add those. Also add them to your resume when you're applying for a job. They just show another understanding of a platform that is widely used. So you will upload screenshots of the exam certifications when you pass, and you will upload those, and then we just have one final forum and we are finishing up the class. I have appreciated being with all of you, and I hope that you've learned a lot. Please reach out if you need any assistance as our class is ending.